there, and thank you for spending part of your day with us. I'm your host, Jeff Smith, and this is Leading Edge. Coming up, the new leader of the nurses union here in Ohio calls out hospitals on working conditions and staffing. Also, the end of an era in Toledo business as we spend a few minutes reminiscing, which is still one of my favorite Little River Band songs. We reminisce about Harold Jaffe Jewelers closing after 75 years. But first, have you noticed all the talk about our nation's debt and the national deficit? It always ramps up this time of the year when the presidential election is right around the corner. But I wanted to have an honest discussion about understanding the two and why that understanding is important. Joining us from the University of Toledo, the Economics Department Chairman, is Dr. David Black. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to share with people kind of an understanding of why this is important this time of the year, especially when we hear these terms coming up. So I want you to kind of make me understand if I'm understanding this right. Debt is like me getting a credit card at 10 years of age, holding that same credit card until I'm 50 now and never paying it off. Is that an accurate portrayal of what it is?
There's a difference between the government debt and personal debt. First thing is governments have the power to tax, print money, and they can borrow at much lower rates than individuals. And as long as they have favorable rates in borrowing, they can shift the burden of taxation from current generations to future generations.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit. Does any of this tie into, we just went through a situation here where we were hearing about government spending, government defaulting, possible government shutdown. Does any of that tie into what we've heard in the news recently as far as where the deficit is?
Well, currently the difference between a deficit and a debt is the deficit is what happens in a given year, and the national debt is the sum of all past unpaid deficits. Currently, the national debt is quite large, and
to the tune of, we were saying, in the 30 trillion range, right?
Correct. And there's a debt ceiling that.
What does that mean?
The debt ceiling is a block, and that currently, current policy, they cannot. Congress tries to impose fiscal responsibility on themselves by saying, okay, the national debt cannot exceed this value, and currently, the deficits are quite large, and so the national debt continues to grow.
But they set those parameters, and then they come back and they go, yeah, maybe we can raise the ceiling a little bit. Maybe we were wrong months ago. Now we've got to raise the ceiling a little bit. Is that right?
That's correct.
Is that fiscal responsibility?
Now that's an opinion. What I would say is, unfortunately, in order to slow the growth rate of the national debt so that it's not growing at a faster rate than gross domestic product, you have two choices: either you raise taxes, or you cut spending, or you do a combination of the two.
Yeah.
And all of those choices will get voters angry, and
right.
And politicians do not want to get voters angry, or they won't get elected.
I wanted to throw in a couple of things. We were talking about the numbers. As of August 2023, total federal debt was $32.6 trillion. This includes, according to reports, $25.8 trillion held by the public and $6.8 trillion in intergovernmental debt. In September 2023, the United States government had a monthly interest rate of 2.97% on its debt. That's a good interest rate, but it's not good. It's not good financial sound policy as far as making sure you need the books balanced. And I guess my question to you today is, trying to, as we get a little closer to the presidential election in 2024, and do we need to ever, will we ever, I'm 50 years old, I haven't asked you your age, I don't know if in our lifetimes we'll ever see a balanced budget. What would it, let me ask you this way, what would it take to get us there?
Fiscal responsibility, but as I said, politicians are
they're good at spending money.
They're good at spending money and they're good at cutting taxes, but when it comes to fiscal responsibility, unlike individuals, governments live much longer, and therefore, as long as people perceive that the government is stable, they are willing to purchase government debt and allow the government to continue to borrow. About 15 years ago, the European countries had troubles with their debt, and what the monetary union did is it eliminated their ability to print money. Individual countries, so countries like Greece had a problem with their debt, and in fact it was in the range of as a percentage of GDP close to that of where the U.S. is currently.
Right.
The difference between U.S. and Greece is the United States still has a independent monetary policy, and they can print money, but Greece couldn't, and so they had to. Their debt problem became realized when the ability of them to borrow became much more difficult as the interest rates rose to close to 20%.
Yeah.
And that's what hasn't happened in the United States. As long as the interest rate remains handleable at 2.9%.
Should we get all caught up in the fact that, you know, we're sending money here, we're sending money there, we're spending on this, we're spending on that? Should we as voters, should we as citizens, should we get all caught up in that? Or is this just a machine that will continue to work until we're dead and gone?
That's kind of what I was getting to is when investors become tired of taking on more government debt, interest rates that the government will be able to borrow at will start to climb. And that's when things will start to impact personal lives, because as interest rates that the government has to borrow at, they're going to have to or become more fiscally responsible, either by cutting spending or raising taxes. And the other terrible alternative would be to print money at a faster rate. And printing money at a faster rate will cause more inflation. And again, that will impact every voter and every American.
Inflation, like we've just gone through, 9%, coming down, I think, into the 2 range. That's where the ultimate percentage is. As we go to break and finish up here, there's been some talk about a national tax, and that potentially being the solution to bringing down the national debt, bringing down these deficits. You think that's in the cards? You think that's something that would work?
You just have to look at other countries that already have that, and what works is becoming more fiscally responsible, slowing the growth of government spending, and reducing the rate of growth of the deficit and the national debt.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to let that be the last word, Dr. Black. Thank you so much. We appreciate the insight. We'll be right back right after this.